Hello and welcome back to Devlog. In this series, we're developing payroll software from scratch. In this episode, we're improving the UI with skeleton loaders, implementing an easy way to change the app's language, adding pay frequency to departments, and my favorite ticket, allowing admins to adjust employee salaries. It's an action-packed episode, but don't worry if you're new to the series, I'm sure you can follow along. When navigating to a route that is rendered on the server, Next.js waits for all the requested data to load before displaying the page. The issue with this is that the user experiences some lag when navigating between pages. It feels like the app is unresponsive. For example, if we click the Employees tab, nothing happens for a moment, and then the page is rendered. To improve this, we can add a loading state that renders while the data is being fetched. All we need to do is create a loading component in the Employees folder and display the same content but with empty data arrays and the loading attribute. Now in the table component, if the page is loading, we display a skeleton entry, which is a copy of the original table row component but with a pulsing animation instead of actual values. Now, if we navigate to the employees route, we can see that the table is immediately shown with the skeleton loader, and after a moment, the table is populated. I set up the same thing for departments as well. Next.js caches the data on these pages, so subsequent visits are instant. To see this better, let's await a promise in the page component. It's subtle, but I think it looks pretty good. It matches the vibes of the app, you know? Oh, and I disabled all clicking actions while the table is loading, so you can't create or filter entries. Alright, very cool. A small yet impactful improvement. Because you know, as they say, a good loading page makes the user more patient. Next up, changing the user's language directly on the admin UI. When we initially set up the layout, we left this language picker on the bottom right. So let's continue from there and use the menu design that Flowbyte intended for this feature. Alright, pasting it in, fixing up the styling, it looks good to go. However, we only support French and Canadian English at the moment, so let's get rid of the rest. Perfect, now we need the Canadian and French flags. Not to worry, I found this Circle Flags GitHub repo that hosts every flag we'll ever need. All we have to do is set the image source to hat scripts. There we go, perfect. Gosh, God bless you hat scripts, this is exactly what we needed. Now to actually update the user's preference, we'll use a server action called update locale, which takes one parameter, the locale. This is the general layout I've been using for server actions. We check for authorization and then we try the database queries. Additionally, for this case, I make sure that the locale is supported. The database update is straightforward. We call an update request on the user model with the user ID from the session and locale as the only data. On the front end, depending on the current locale, we display the appropriate flag as the button. And when the user clicks on either option, we call the server action with the associated locale, and then we refresh the router. Alright, let's give this a test. Let's change our language to French. Oh, we can see a quick refresh, and the app is translated. Very cool, perfect. That's it for this ticket, that was a quick one. Let's push up these changes and move on to the next. Next, setting pay frequency on the department model. By pay frequency, I mean how often an employee is paid. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, etc. For now, I think it's acceptable to assume that all employees in a department are to be paid at the same frequency. Therefore, let's add a pay frequency attribute to the department model and migrate the changes. On the front end, we'll want to add a drop-down select to the department modal so admins can set and update a department's pay frequency. I've created this general select component which takes an array of options which are objects with a name and value. In the department modal we made in previous episodes, we'll display the select component and pass in all the pay frequencies we support using the associated enum. Alright, let's give it a test. We can now create a new department with a name, pay frequency, and description. And we can of course update the department with the same modal. Fantastic, incredible, we are tearing through these tickets. Let's push up these changes and move on to the final, the biggest, the baddest ticket of the sprint. When we initially set up the employee table, we included a row action menu with some placeholder actions. I think we can finally replace one of these with the option to adjust the employee's salary. So anyway, I started cooking. I started adding some form fields to this modal, current salary, new salary, and optional description. However, I realized the current salary element looks like not very good. So I hopped onto Canva, not Figma because I accidentally paid for a Canva subscription, so I'm gonna use it, and I put together this vision for the modal. The inputs are straightforward, they're whatever, but I'm thinking of displaying a compact salary history rather than just the employee's current salary. Partly because I think it's beneficial for the admin, and partly because I'm bored of text inputs, man. I'm gonna get creative. Let's go! I am so excited to show you the final product. Let's do a demo first, and then we can quickly go over the code. So from the action menu, we can click Adjust Salary, which brings up our modal. This employee entry does not have a salary yet, so we display that information to the admin. I have implemented a custom salary input field which automatically formats the user's input and prevents all unwanted strings. The currency dropdown populates from our Prisma currency enum, so it's dynamic. Very exciting. Lastly, the notes section should be used to communicate the reason for the salary adjustment, both to the employee and for record keeping. Let's give myself a $100,000 salary, and we can see that the adjustment was successful from the snack bar message. Let's open up the modal again, and we can see that my current salary is now listed. If I keep giving myself a raise, all of these salaries are listed in order. Very cool. Now Steve Jobs has been employed for far longer than I have, so his salary history spans back a couple years. If we try to adjust his salary to $100,000, an alert drops down warning us that we are reducing his salary. And if we change it to $230,000, the alert goes away. How adorable is it that the alert is under the modal? Is that not like the perfect spot for it? Perfect. And last but not least, if we adjust David's salary, we can see that the currency dropdown is USD by default, since that's the currency of David's current salary. As we build the admin view, the entire Nobility Pay ecosystem comes together. Heading over to the self-serve app, we can see my salary history has updated. How satisfying is that? Not gonna lie, the code is pretty interesting. To prevent hover and click events from interfering with the parent row element, I wrap the modal in a portal component. This portal component essentially takes its children and appends them to the document, so they are no longer children of the row element. The actual modal is quite straightforward, but I'm fairly proud of this one function which is responsible for formatting the new salary field. It takes the user's input, strips everything that is not a digit, formats it to a currency, and displays the new string. Very cool if I do say so myself. When the user clicks off of the new salary field, this function checks if the salary is less than the employee's current salary and displays the warning if so. To render all the currencies dynamically, I simply map over the enum from our Prisma schema. When submitting the form, if all is well with the inputs, we call the adjust salary server action. And last but definitely not least, the salary history component is simply a mapping of the employee's salaries. The server action is quite straightforward for now. We just call a create request on the salary model with the 3 fields. We'll eventually have to do something with the admin's notes regarding the adjustment, but that is a ticket for later. And otherwise, we are done this ticket. This was perhaps my favorite ticket of the sprint. We had numerous opportunities to be creative, and we took them all. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Devlog. We improved the UI with satisfying loading states, implemented an easy way to change the app's language, added pay frequency to departments, and implemented a beautiful, intuitive, and creative salary adjustment component. The portal component was something I had never seen before, and I'm hoping it's not too much of a hack, but let me know if it is. I hope you enjoyed this episode and maybe learned something along the way. Please make sure to subscribe to follow along and see where this project goes. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Yo, that was a fun episode. Not gonna lie. We're getting our hands dirty with some actual payroll logic. Very exciting, very exciting.